Good morning, eighth graders. Happy Tuesday. Since today is a B day, I won't be seeing you. We will not have a Google Meet, but I did want to give you a more or less guided step-by-step tour of where we should be accessing today's document, how to begin, and how to make sure we have effectively completed today's work. So right now you're looking at either your Google Classroom, it is period 1, or an example of a Google Classroom. And I'm starting here today because I really want to make sure that I drive home the importance of knowing how to navigate. Now, typically when you log in, this is what you see. You're looking at the stream, and there's this long list of different things that Mrs. Robinette has posted. We also have an upcoming list of work that's due and when. And in fact, when I click on View All, you'll see everything that I have ever assigned to you and those deadlines. But I want to get back to stream. I'm really going to discourage you from staying here to find your work. If anything, I'm going to ask that you click on classwork. In fact, what you will see when you're in classwork is a list of different topics or categories and all of the work that I file under those topics or categories. Today at the top, you will see that I have open what's due tomorrow, what we're starting, or should I say even continuing to work on today, digging deeper into margin notes. We actually started this last week. We started this last week because I read to you on Tuesday of last week, Death and Chocolate, and we completed the left-hand margin of notes. And as I told you last week, we were going to be bringing it back this week. So that's where we are. We want to remember that this is the second time we're looking at this document. So you will want to have both left and right margins completed before you submit it today. You'll want to make sure that you have highlighted lines, not just to reflect point of view from last week, but also to reflect steel this week. And actually, I've given you a great hint here. Today, we're only going to focus on E, A, and T. We're not going to focus on the speaking. We're not going to focus on the looks. In the right-hand margin next to where we've highlighted, we're also going to want to make sure we explain what we've highlighted to reflect steel, or for today, EAT. And last but not least, we'll want to turn that work in. Because we're bringing back this document from last week, and again, this is where you're accessing your own, you'll also notice that there's a Google form. We do not, I repeat, we do not need to complete this today, unless, of course, you didn't complete it last week. And that's where I'm going to leave that up to you to go back into Infinite Campus to make sure. So you'll want to go ahead and click on yours. I already have mine up here and ready to go. And let's take a look again at the reminders about annotation. In 8th grade, annotation is really just a fancy word for explanatory notes. So when we think of annotation, we want to think of this as, again, an opportunity to really communicate with the text, the author, and even just get our own thinking down. Our notes should make sense to us, not just in 10 minutes, but 10 days from now, even 10 years. And remember that a symbol is not enough, nor is highlighting, and a symbol should not stand on its own. We need to circle, highlight, and explain. I've also kept the audio there for you, so if you're going to reread, as you probably should, the text with a new focus, you also have that option. So just to revisit, while I won't read it again out loud to you, last week we focused on point of view. So we have here that, again, this passage is written in first person. The narrator is referring back to himself and what he sees. And yes, while you is used, and we did have this discussion, somewhat of a debate with some groups last week, you is being used. And it may even lead the reader to think this is second point of view. But technically, it is still first. The reader is simply being drawn in. The narrator is actually communicating, should I even say, thinking out loud to the reader. He even goes on to introduce himself, which is where we realize, okay, this is Death. Now, never does the narrator say, my name is Death, but I'm using my inferring skills. I am taking what I see, combine it with what I know to make an educated guess about what is happening. And again, inference is at work here. And I'm truly impacted by this first person point of view because I'm able to see into Death's mind. I'm able to see into his thoughts, his feelings. I'm able to better understand who he is, what he likes, and what he doesn't. And it really is quite surprising to me as a reader. So now that we've recapped last week's left-hand margin notes on point of view, we're going to focus today on right-hand margin, steal. So just to remind ourselves, E, A, and T are the only letters that we are going to focus on today. And by watching the video, you have the glory of already having one of these letters taken care of. And we're going to focus on T. Remember, S and L are not options. So just to remind ourselves, we're only focusing on, and I'll rewrite them here, T, E, and A only. And I am going to get you going with T, thoughts. There is no dialogue anywhere in this passage, hence why there's no speech. Nowhere in this passage do we have any idea what death looks like, hence why there's no L. That means this entire passage, honestly, is T. And this is Death's way of thinking out loud to us, communicating to us through his own mind who he is, what he's about, what he likes, and what he doesn't. So honestly, I could pull from so many of these passages to reflect through his thoughts what I learn about him. But I'm going to choose one in particular. And that is down here, through his thoughts. And I want to get just the right one. And that is here. Which in turn brings me to the subject I'm telling you about tonight or today or whatever the hour and color. It's the story of one of those perpetual survivors, an expert at being left behind. So here Death really is introducing the story that's going to follow in the remainder of the novel. And actually, I originally used yellow for point of view. I think I'm going to use a different color for steal. And here I'm going to need to space down so I can get next to my newest highlight. And I think this is a really good passage because while Death is really clearly in all of these different lines telling us what he is like and what he's about, and I could pull any of those, I like this line because of the key words, one of those perpetual survivors and experts at being left behind. He is already, through his thoughts, telling us that, and I'm going to put T here, through Death's thoughts, here's me thinking out loud while sharing with you, he exposes his beliefs on what people who escape death are like in his eyes. Now, again, he mentions it before as well. It's the leftover humans. It's the survivors. Boy, through his thoughts, we really start to realize that he can't stand it when people escape him. It's almost like, I'm even going to, again, thinking out loud, I'm going to type what I think. It is almost as if Death dislikes people who make him a failure at his job. And of course, his job is to take people from the life that they know, to take them from living. So I have not only already acknowledged one of your three letters today, but I have highlighted passages to support and explained thoroughly what we know about Death through his thoughts. And again, never did he say that he felt as though he disliked people because they made him a failure. I inferred. So now that we have T done, and by all means, feel free to find more passages that reflect T, but really, you don't have to. Your job is to go back to finding passages that reflect E and A. And as a reminder, for E, you're looking for passages that say something about death based on how people react to him. How do people feel about death? What does death make them do? And also A, actions. Find a passage that shows what death does, how he moves, how he acts. And remember, you're not just highlighting, you're also explaining here in that right-hand margin. And that's where, to leave you, I'm going to go to our big screen and make sure we do in fact understand what it is that's being expected of us. And sorry, as I get us to the right place here, I don't want to do that. But, excuse me, while I work through some of these little glitches. All right, with that said, you're going to make sure you access the document here. You're going to make sure you refer back to the reminders here. And of course, turn that work in. Our deadline is tomorrow, 5:00 p.m. the latest. I'm here if you need any help. But again, I know you're going to do a great job. Have an awesome day, 8th graders. I'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.